Alright then, hello everyone. This is episode 3 of Waterloo Road Rewind. So, as I've said for the past couple of episodes, the show hasn't quite felt like itself because it's just the structure feels a bit off. But again, there's a lot of groundwork being laid and it is sort of figuring its identity out. That's, I think, the best way to describe Series 1. It's sort of trying to know what it is and kind of roll with it, and that's very much the vibe for the season. But as I put in my note on my phone, I actually think this one feels the most sort of accurate to the show so far. So, in line with that, Waterloo Road typically has its student of the week, whether that be a main or a one-off, as I'm pretty sure I said last episode. In this case, there's a new student who is heavily pregnant who has a tie to Jack. So when we first meet her, we see Andrew on the bus. Lewis is playing up to her, and basically Andrew's like, stop messing around, said into Lewis, and basically finds out about this girl who's a bit flirty with him. And then Andrew reckons that he's got a bit in store for himself dealing with this young woman, and that's kind of that. So when Kim tries to connect with this lady, or young lady, she doesn't want to talk to Kim, and just wants to chat to Jack or to just generally get on. This is kind of interesting because she says that there's she knows Jack, like Jack's a friend of her dad's. That's the connection, that there's a bar that Jack goes to that her dad owns. She's poured the odd pint despite being 15 years old. And Jack took her home thinking she was older, and he was the one who got her pregnant. So, that's that. Jack is sort of a bit baffled because she's able to perfectly describe the inside of his house. So, as the audience will be aware now, at the very least, she has stepped foot in Jack's house. That's sort of where we're at with things. So Jack naturally panics. The position that he's in, he's a head teacher. He would lose his job, go to prison, be put on the offenders register. There's just so much at stake for him here. And she makes it worse by attempting to blackmail him, basically saying that he's got until the end of the week to pay up 10 grand, or she'll go to the newspapers, he'll lose his job, all this, that, and the other. And Jack is just sort of losing his mind a little bit, which is fair enough. It would be a lot. But back to my point, that's sort of like the main crux plot of this episode. It's the main sort of meat to it, with a lot of other little side plots and bits and pieces going on. I quite like this plot. I think that it kind of makes sense. I mean, again, teenage pregnancy happens, unfortunately. In state schools like Waterloo Road, it would be quite a common occurrence. Andrew even raises it to Kim, and Kim makes the sort of joke of, "Oh, that's 5 now." Like it's the norm. It's just one of those that unfortunately does happen. Even to this day, it's still a thing, which is unfortunate. But what can you do? It's just young people having unprotected intercourse and not really thinking. So there's that, or other darker connotations of where it may come from. I do quite like how it is resolved in the end, that we find out... how it is sort of resolved in the end. We find out that, Jack was chivalrous. He helped her get home. That was that. There was no dodgy dealings or anything, and she actually spoke really highly of him. It was her, I'm guessing, current boyfriend who is causing the issue. So it's Craig Harris, who's this guy who, as Jack said, got expelled 3 years ago. Jack is not happy to see him. He starts slagging Jack off. Jack finds out that he was the cause of everything. Andrew tries chatting to him sort of like normally, like a human being. Gets nowhere because, as Jack puts it, he's scum. Jack punches him to the ground and tells him to do one because he'll go to the police for him trying to blackmail him, this, that, and the other. And the kid runs off like a coward. So what I quite like is It's a good sense of world building. It adds previous events to the school. Like we knew that for a while Brian Vasey was the head teacher. All this stuff happened. Jack was just a history teacher. But referencing events like this makes the school feel more alive. Like its previous students, for better or for worse, he attended Waterloo Road. Presumably got expelled for something, and that was that. Another point that I wanted to bring up, not just in this episode, but from what I've seen from the previous few and what will continue for the rest of this season, is that whether it's students or the teachers or just adults in general, there's a lot of physical confrontation, which again feels very tied to the noughties. So if we look at what's happened so far, we've seen like Tom get physical with Jimmy, they shoved each other. We saw Jack punch that guy to the ground. We know that later on in the series, after Lewis intimidates Kim, that Jack will attack him. There's just a lot of people being punched, beaten, or attacked. And it feels very integrated into the show, and it just feels very normalized. Whereas if we compare it to the reboot, look at Darius's first series. He's pushing everyone, he's winding people up, he's manipulating, he's being snide, he's being really slimy. Jack catches on to what he is. He leaves the whiskey bottle on his desk. Jack confronts him, says, for the sake of Stella and the school, I'm going to get that deputy headship. I don't trust you. You're not a nice man, blah, blah, blah. Darius retaliates when Jack becomes the deputy. He puts the whiskey on his desk, as we said. Jack drinks it, becomes a mess. Darius tries to sell the narrative that Jack is just a pathetic drunk and makes a snide comment. Jack retaliates and punches him to the ground. Very satisfying, by the way. But that's the final episode of Series 15. We see this happen. We see Jack lose it and punch Darius to the ground. And don't get me wrong, it's effective, it's good. I wish we could have seen more. Like, Darius is awful. Yeah. But the difference now and then is that seeing someone get physical like Jack did is more of a novelty now. It's not the norm. If every episode someone was getting punched, I don't think what they went for would have been as impactful. But equally, due to the position the school's in and the sort of values of the naughties and stuff, it feels that much more normal for people to be getting punched. So I think that, like, again, the show feels a bit tonally different and the expectations are different. I just find it quite interesting just how regular it is in the current or the past show in Series 1 compared to what we have now. Because, like, trying to think to the modern show, like, the violence and stuff that we see. Like, Danny stabs Vinny. Shuey bullies Billy. I'm not sure if he hits him at any point. I mean, he might do. He at least tries it when Billy's in prison and Billy stops it. Stella gets horrendously beaten by Stace Neville's mum. So that's one of the darkest scenes of the whole show. Darius sort of gets refrained. I don't think he gets punched again. Yeah, like I said, not a lot of physical confrontation is really coming to mind. And that's just a few instances across, 50 odd episodes. Whereas in 3, we've already had several physical showdowns, which, again, it's more a novelty, I think. But that was just something that, something I was thinking about. So, as I said already, a bit casually, but it was said, this is the first episode to introduce Lewis Seddon. I did say last episode, I found it weird that Lewis wasn't in the show yet, because we know Lewis exists. He's here now. He's there. We got Lewis Seddon, there he is. Why was he not the one with the knife in the last episode? We've seen him and Janice communicate with each other. I wouldn't exactly say they're friends, but they are on talking terms. So why was it not Lewis? And watching this episode, I think I figured out why. So So, in the first 2 episodes, we don't have Lewis. Dante is the focus for both of them. So the first one, Dante gets stopped on the bus by Andrew. We meet Andrew, we see his values. Dante's like, what is happening? Calls his dad turns up. Andrew calls his dad a thug, punches him. He gets punched, whatever, you know what I mean. Clarence apologizes. Dante's annoyed. Dante steals the car. They drink. They get crashed. Dante's terrified of going to prison. Dante gets jumped by that kid with the knife, Janice, and the Adam's sister. I can't remember her name. He's upset. Eventually, he gets arrested. And as of right now, he's in a detention center. He's writing to Chloe. He can't cope. This is where we're at with Dante's story. Dante, for those 2 episodes, was like the stereotypical, like, bad kid. And the focus was on him. I think, had Lewis been there, it would have removed a lot of the focus that they were going for. It's like now that Dante is not part of the school, they're kind of focusing on Lewis. I think it's because they were trying to establish and world build at the beginning. They probably thought, right, it would be too much to have Dante and Lewis, who both kind of fit the bill as like the bad kid. So it's probably easier to tackle it one-on-one. And then once the show is more established, then you can have more than one at any given time. I mean, generally speaking, there are kids that are somewhat bad and they get reformed and a new one comes in. Or I'm trying to think if there's an instance where there's sort of 2 at the same time. I guess you got Bolton and Earl, but Bolton's sort of more reformed at that point. You got Finn and Kyle, but again, a lot of the stuff that made Finn is sort of gone by the time Kyle's in it. Shuey and Dean, but Dean's basically on the way out when Shuey comes in, so yeah, maybe it's just that, maybe that, but then I guess you've still got, because Dante and Lewis are both in it next series, but like Dante's not really doing anything wrong, because it's more sort of Brett's causing problems, but Brett's not like the bad kid the way they typically normally are. And then Lewis is just not in school anymore. He's just causing problems for the general public, like stealing from the corner shop and, breaking into Dante's house and stuff. So, I don't know, maybe that's just it. They just didn't want both at the same time. Maybe they thought it would clash. Maybe they just didn't think they'd have the space to have both. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's the reason. I think now that Dante is not at Waterloo Road for the remainder of the series, they can still do Dante's storyline in the background as we see that he tries to manipulate Chloe into taking the fall. And we see Clarence try, and there's all that stuff going on, which means that in actual scenes at Waterloo Road where there's issues, there's problems of the week, there's this, you can just have Lewis fill that role, and Lewis can just cause the problem. So I think fundamentally that's why Lewis isn't in the first 2. I also found out, and I'll dive more into this when we get to Series 3, Lewis was originally meant to be in it a lot longer than he was. So the actor got arrested for possession of a machete and did some time. So naturally they wrote him out of the show because, he's in actual prison. But yeah, I don't know for how long or what the plan was going to be. But he is not in it afterwards. I have a theory, and again, I'll expand on it more when we get to Series 4. I think that had Lewis stayed, I think Lewis would have been the one to kill Maxine. As great as I think Earl's arc is, and Earl is as a character, I think that because he's introduced, well, Maxine's introduced alongside him, they're sort of sleeping together in Series 2. They already know each other. I think that Lewis might have filled that role. But who knows? That's just what I suspect anyway. Okay, so what else in this episode? I thought that Lewis's goal in winning the whole house system thing was quite funny. Like Jack makes a snide comment being like, "Oh, you'll get money out of my pocket" or something, which is very obviously BS. It's Jack just brushing him off, making a joke. Lewis is like, "Oh yeah, we got to get Rimmer's money. We got to do it." And I'm like, it's funny, but the fact that he's just done this whole thing and the hopes or thoughts that Rimmer might give him a bit of cash is quite amusing. Again, I think the biggest thing is, like I've said, and probably will say for the next 5 of these, Tom Clarkson. I don't like what they're doing with him. So, Chloe's gone because she visits a friend in the hospital because she's anxious about what will come up when she wakes out of the coma and gets her memories back and stuff. She's scared because Dante's pressuring her. She's scared that she thinks she's liable and all of this is going on, which is fair. She's a child. It's a lot. So Andrew notices her, but Tom didn't realize that she wasn't in class. So Andrew's a bit like, Mr. Clarkson, did you not notice that Chloe wasn't in your class? And Tom just brushes it off. He's like, oh, she's not here? Oh, okay, fair enough. And then Andrew's like, oh, she's going to be in the cooler for the remainder. Is there any work she can do? And Tom's like, oh, she can read of Mice and Men, I guess. That's what we're doing. And then Andrew has a word with Tom, being like, your attitude stinks. You need to buck up, buddy. And Tom just doesn't care. Tom's like, the union says I'm entitled to my lunch. And he's just... It doesn't feel like Tom. Like, I get that he feels like he's trapped in a loveless marriage and that he wants out, but it feels so detached from what Tom Clarkson is that it's just not fun to watch. And I also... So, it's the whole abortion thing as well. It's like... what's she called? Lorna gets an abortion because she thinks it'll help her keep Tom. And then after the girl who was blackmailing Jack gives birth, Tom is like more excited about the prospect of being a dad. But then when he chats to Lorna, the baby's gone and he gets really upset. And she's like, it's fine, Tom, we can have another one. It's just, the writing just feels weirdly off. It just doesn't feel right. Like, it just, I don't know. It's, again, the diary and Izzy being in love with Tom and that Chloe and Mika know, it's just, it feels like they're padding a little bit, or they're just trying to stretch this out, but it's like, again, a lot of it just feels unnecessarily cruel to Lorna, which isn't particularly fun to watch, and Tom just doesn't feel like Tom, so it just, a lot of it just isn't particularly fun for me at the moment. It's sort of why I want to get to the next series. Like, I do like a lot of series 1, but it's just this whole plot. I can't deal with it. I'd be interested to know now, because this is the 3rd episode, what do you guys all think of the Lorna, Tom, Izzy sort of plot point? Let me know your thoughts, because I am struggling with it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm probably going to wrap it up there. So, thank you for listening, and stay tuned for next week. We've got episode 4. So that should be fun. Until then, I'll catch you all soon.